Hey, second grade, Miss Thomas here. Today for writing, I would like you to get out your writing notebook, your journal, or a piece of paper and something to write with. So today for writing, I'm going to be reading you a brand new story, and it's a long story. It's nonfiction, and it's titled Polar Lands. Polar lands. So we're going to talk about a lot of features of polar lands and also some animals as we go along. So the assignment for today, instead of a thinking map, we are going to be asking questions. So good readers ask a lot of questions as they read. That puts those little questions in our brain, and then we are going to be searching and trying to find the answers as we read. So today your assignment is going to be coming up with questions as we go along. So I'll show you kind of how I do that, and we'll be writing them down as we go. So on your piece of paper, I'd like you to put the date on the top, and then as we go, we'll number the questions 1, 2, 3. So as you think of something, write it down. You can pause the video if you need to while you write so you don't miss out on any of the story. But just start asking yourself questions. That is a really good habit to get into as you read. As you ask those questions, you search for the answers in the story, and then it helps with your comprehension. Because as you answer each question, you go, oh, I got it, I got it. And you start to understand more and more and more about the story. All right, so I'm going to begin with the title Polar Lands. On your paper, will you write Polar Lands at the top? Polar Lands. I will hold it up for you. You're going to underline that. We are going to put the date at the top too. Yours should look like this. Polar Lands as our title, and you're going to date it at the top, January 14th, 2021. So write that on the top of your paper, please. And I will start reading as we go. Any question that you might have, write it down. Remember to write complete sentences too, with a capital letter at the beginning and a question mark at the end, since there'll be questions. And I wore my headphones so you can hear me a little, or my headset so you can hear me a little bit better as I read, and then I'll hold up the pictures as we go, all right? Polar Lands by Margaret Hines. And definitely we won't finish this today, so we'll start it today and kind of add and read a little bit more as we go along. So here's a really neat table of contents. I like how they did that a little bit different. Authors and illustrators are very creative. Ends of the earth. Little penguins there on the page. Let's see. So my first question might be, I wonder if penguins are a polar animal. What do you think? Let's read and find out, okay? Ends of the earth. The polar lands are found at the opposite ends of the earth. Here's the North Pole and the South Pole. Around those poles. So they are the coldest and the windiest places on Earth. It says frozen landscape. It is so cold in the polar regions that the land and the water stay frozen for most of the year. Polar animals need to be very tough to survive these conditions. So here's a kind of penguin that does live there. It says the Arctic. So the Arctic surrounds the North Pole. So here up top, it looks like this. This is Arctic. Let's read about the Arctic. I wonder why it has a different name if it's at the North Pole. One of the questions that I might write is, does the area around the South Pole have a different name than the Arctic? Let's read and find out, okay? So Arctic. The Arctic surrounds the North Pole. It is made up of the Arctic Ocean and the treeless lands around it, called the tundra. Can you say tundra? So that's a name for an area, an Arctic tundra, where there's no trees at all, and it's just cold. So this says the Antarctic. The Antarctic surrounds the South Pole. Do we get an answer to our first question? The South Pole's name is the Antarctic, okay, and it surrounds the South Pole. It is made up of a continent called Antarctica and the Southern Ocean around it. Very good. If you had a question about either of those, jot that down on your paper. Please pause the video so you can come right back to it when you're done with your question. This page is titled Frozen Features. It is so cold in the polar lands in the winter that snow does not melt. Instead, it is pressed into ice as more snow falls on top of it. The ice forms thick sheets that cover the land. So, layer on layer of snow as it falls, it freezes and stays in a layer, and more layers get added to it. Wow, my question, I wonder what that looks like. What does layer on layer of snow that freeze, what does that look like? I might write that on my list. So snowflakes, this section is titled. If you look closely at snowflakes, you will see that they have many different patterns. Almost all snowflakes have 6 sides or 6 points. Underwater giants. Ooh, icebergs are huge chunks of freshwater ice that float in the polar oceans. The biggest part of an iceberg lies below the surface of the water. I might ask myself, why? Why is most of the ice underneath the water? If you had that same question or maybe something similar, pause and write that on your piece of paper. Why is most of it under the water? That looks so huge, my goodness. Crashing ice. Icebergs fall off the edge of polar ice sheets and they crash into the ocean. This happens mostly during the summer when the ice melts a little. I'm going to read this last page, so be thinking up some more questions as we go. Light and dark, this page is titled. The polar lands are unique places. So unique means special or different. During the long, harsh winters, you hear that vocabulary word? Harsh. That means kind of brutal and almost dangerous. The long, harsh winters, it is dark for almost the whole day. Can you imagine? Even like on a stormy day when the clouds are out there all day long, that makes the day feel so dark and dreary. Can you imagine during the winter, almost the whole day is dark, like the middle of the night? In the summer, the sun does not set for weeks on end. So then in the summertime, it's always sunny. Even during the nighttime when you're supposed to be sleeping, the sun shines up. Isn't that silly? Lighting the way, excuse me. In the summer, the sun dips in the sky at night, but it still lights up the land. Even though it's past midnight, these people can find their way home. So here's an example. It's midnight, yet the sky is still bright outside so they can see where they're going. Wow. This is titled Strange Lights. You see those? Near the poles, the night skies are sometimes filled with glorious light shows. These spectacular natural displays are called auroras, or the northern and southern lights. So a question I might have is, wait, why? Why do those lights shine in the sky like that? What are the auras? How do they shine like that? That is something Miss Thomas would love to see one day, is the northern lights or the southern lights. Wow. Summer squirreling. The ground squirrels survives the winter by hibernating. In the summer, it makes the most of the constant daylight to gather a supply of food for the next winter. So he survives how? By hibernating, and then he gathers and gathers and gathers food to last him through the winter. Very good. So we're going to pause right there and we'll finish reading a little bit more tomorrow, okay? But I want to see some of your questions. Finish up those questions. If there's anything that any of these pages made you think of, write a question about it. And we're going to see if we can find answers, or if not, we can search them together and we can find answers to our questions about polar lands. All right, send me a photo of your questions in Dojo. I would love to see. Make sure they are complete sentences with capital letters and question marks at the end. All right. I look forward to reading those. Please let me know if you have any questions at all. I'll talk to you later.